Hello, we're the Infamy Fantasy Esports team, minus one sloth, and we are hosting a fantasy Fortnite tournament at infamy.gg for the FNCS Invitational, and that is exactly what we're here to talk about today. We're gonna speak with our resident Fortnite experts here to see which people are best, which players are best for your picks for your fantasy team, and just give some guidance around that. So, to start it off. So, in case you don't know, our Infamy Fantasy Sports requires you to stay underneath the salary cap with better players priced higher. So, which of the top price players are you guys looking to spend the bulk of your cash on?
So for me, the past two tournaments I've picked an NRG Benji Fishy for short. He is capped out salary player, 15,000, but the reason why I picked him is that the past 2 weeks he's come in first place in EU. He's a solid pick. We have a whole bunch of players who are salary cap, Mitro, FaZe Mongrel, 100 Thieves Rex, Epic Whale,
Yeah.
but
hmm
yeah, Epic Whale also. But Benji's just one of those players who is always in the top 10, no matter what the tournament format is. So he's just a safe pick all around. That's why I'm picking him.
I'm
Jake.
gonna do Epic Whale, with Darren mentioned. He's been extremely consistent. He's also uh, relatively new to controller, and just a few clips of him just dunking on some other top name pros, just like in a scrim, and it's just like he gets in your box and you're just dead. It's just raw mechanics.
That's-
Um,
Yeah,
But Benji Fishy is very, I think, going to be an extremely hot commodity. Yeah, like he's won the past two weekends. I think week one, I have the stats. He got 77 kills, won two of his games, two top tens, two top 25s. He was like, I think, second or third for infamy points for that week with 7.74. This past weekend dropped off slightly bit, only 49 kills, two wins, three top tens,
only 49.
top 25 twice.
man.
Infamy scored seven. Um, I think he was pretty close to the top. I think Wolfie's beat him out. He's actually one player I'll talk about a little later. But yeah, but Epic Whale, I think is just in an easier regions. Even though he's maxed out in for salary, I think he's a very good pickup.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you, regions are factoring into your top player picks? So, are you looking at the top three placements in each of them, or just general competition there?
Well, when I do it, I like to. We were talking about this a little bit off camera, but everyone, if you're unfamiliar with fantasy or how our tournament formats work, you pick four players. You should try and spread those players out across regions. So you don't want to have four EU players necessarily because they're all competing against each other at the end of the day. So you can only do so well. So you want to have one, maybe two players from each region just so they don't step on each other's toes and
Yeah.
quote unquote grief each other in your tournament. So I like to have like one EU player, one NA East player, one NA West player, and then my last slot will be random. Just something to think about that people might not be thinking about when they pick their teams, and it will help you immensely
I tend to do
win.
two NA East because I just feel like that's just the controller invasion aside. I think it's just like the more like EU and NA East are very close, but I just feel like NA East just has a lot more. I don't know how what's the best way to describe it, but just like kind of more conflicts, and some like I feel like some players just have the ability to pop off when there's like some adversity or just like some exterior motives going on. So I think that
Mhm.
So it's more volatile, kind of like you want to go with this more stable region.
no, I kind of want to go with the more unstable region. So I think
Yeah,
EU is a lot more stable,
yeah.
especially
As seen
since
by Benji.
NA East is this whole controller. I think it was like Cypher PK that tweeted out the top 14 players in NA East were all on controller, and in
Yeah.
EU there's I think maybe two or three. There's and a lot of people think uh, the EU players are just able to adapt better, and so and I think it was Bala who said there aren't that many controller like idols like NA East and West. There's like I feel like those were like some of the first name Fortnite named people on controller who were able to place consistently pretty high, like Aiden, and EU didn't have that as much. So I feel like mouse and keyboard just a little bit more of a mainstay in
Mhm.
EU.
Yeah, for sure. And what do you guys think about so to stay under the salary price, you can't just pick all the top players, all the maxed out guys at 15K. So what are some lower price like thing players that you think are a steal to add to your team that will put up a higher performance than we have them valued at?
One I mentioned a little earlier was Wolfies. He actually scored the most out of anyone for Infamy points this past weekend. I think it was like 8.29. Um, and the reason why he kind of scored some higher than other people, he had 14 games played instead of like 17 to 20 like most of the others. So he was able to pop off pretty hard in the smaller number of games, which is a lot of him more Infamy points. But in 14 games, he had 51 kills. He was like top 10 globally for this past weekend for number of kills earned.
Yeah, and Benji had, you said 49, right? In 20 games, I
Mm-hmm.
believe he played. That's
Hmm.
is it the raw mechanics of controller or skill? You'll never know. But yeah, just expanding on that, I think the budget picks would be our lower end controller players, not lower end skill wise, but our cheaper costing controller players like Lecce. Lecce is Wolfie's duo partner, and I believe he's just as good, if not better, than Wolfie's. He's 8,500. We also have Scoped, who placed, I believe it was fourth NA East overall.
I got it here one
Yeah,
second.
let me just
Yes,
pull it up.
Scoped came in fourth.
Yeah, Scoped came in fourth. And then you have AV, who's also a controller player. He didn't do as well as Scoped, but he has been consistent. He came in 54th overall, but he's a cheap pick and he has the potential to win it all. He has been top 10 before
Mhm.
in duos FNCS with Chap. He's a great pick. Also on the EU end, if you're not a controller isn't your forte, there's eye
You're a
drop.
purist.
Yeah,
You're a pure, yeah, if
Mr.
you're
Savage's boy.
true
Yeah.
to the mouse and keyboard army. I
Hmm.
I dropped Mr. Savage's duo. He's pretty good. He came in 79th overall, just barely qualifying, but he's still a good pick for 5,800. Last week he earned about three infamy points total, but
And
I just want to
I mean,
chalk that up
comparison to
to
like some of the other weeks, like these past couple weeks, the scores have been a lot lower. Like the highest score for this week was like 8.29 with Wolfies. Like some weeks,
yeah.
just depending on the game mode, they were getting like 15, 16. So like a majority of the people were getting like 3 to 5 points. So
Yeah, and I was just about to expand on that, Jake. The reason behind that is the format. This format heavily places kills, which is another reason why you see these controller players in the top 15 and doing so well. Because let's face it, aim assist does help, and the objective of the game is to get kills and win the game. And when kills are worth 4 points, players are going to go for kills more often, and the players who can get more kills are going to excel. And I heavily believe that's why controller players are so dominant in the leaderboard right now, just because of the format.
mhm.
And with that being said, we have Furious, who's only 6,300, who put up 6.78 infamy points last week, second to Benji, but he's a steal. And where did he come in overall? I believe it was NA East. Yeah, Furious second on the infamy leaderboard and in the overall leaderboard for NA East.
Yeah, I
Definitely,
was
yeah.
gonna ask, do we feel like it's a direct correlation to like how they're performing, or do we think that because they're going for more kills, which is only worth 1 point in our scoring, like is there anyone that would be more inclined to to get more points from winning the actual like battle royales, victory royales?
Um, I think it's like kills are just so heavily based. I believe if you come in top 25 or a little bit outside of top 25 with 6 or 7 kills, you get the same amount of points as winning a game. So it heavily incentivizes these players to like get as many kills as possible, which a lot of people aren't a fan of, but that's the current format. And when we're doing fantasy based on this format, you have to take those things into account. So having a team of all controller players isn't bad. And especially now when a lot of these controller players are new
Yeah.
to the not new to the scene, but are just starting to place. They're cheap on the Infamy leaderboard, so get them while you can, because after this tournament, who knows how much they'll be worth. And that's like a big part of fantasy, that you have to take advantage of your budget deals.
You can't play favorites.
Yeah, and also
Yeah.
yeah, and also just paying attention to, like you said, the format of the tournament and just all the surrounding things, like the rise of controller players who are newer players that we will have priced lower.
Mhm.
And so on Friday they're going to be hosting the reboot.
Yeah, the reboot round.
Yes, the reboot round. So, and we'll be adding the whoever qualifies from that into our pool of players you can add to your fantasy team. So, anyone that you expect to come in that might be someone to look into throwing onto your team last second.
A couple people that I have is Colazo. He's another controller player. He's made a name for himself this season as a aim assist. What's the word? Anti-enthusiast of aim assist, but he's also a controller
I'm sure there's
player.
some kind of like a controllerist, but
Yeah,
I saw a
yeah.
video of him kind of going through the top people and being like, "Wow, like all the normal like mainstays
Yeah.
in Fortnite competitive like didn't make it because it's just the wave of controller
Yeah.
players." So I'm
Yeah.
sure he's going in with a vengeance.
Yeah, so you
NA
have Colazo.
NA
Uh,
East is slowly looking like NA West in terms of like just consistency, because NA West is a lot more fluctuating with a lot of more, not, I wouldn't say no names, but just like non-household names. And like, yeah, there's like a ton that didn't make it, like Macwood, Reverse UK, Clicks, Nate Hill,
Now, do you
Cypher.
think if these people make it in back into the main tournament on the weekends, like, are they gonna? Is it gonna be any difference? Like, they didn't perform well enough to qualify in the first place. Do you really want to add them to your team if you think they're gonna kind of shit the bed again?
yeah, yeah, that is a good point. I think especially with Fortnite, the way these tournaments work is the farther along they get, the more safe people play. So like, yeah, last week and the previous weeks, a lot of people were focused on kills. But when you're in that grand final situation, and I don't know what the prize pool is total off the top of my head, but you're playing for big money. So you're not gonna, like, in every game counts. So you're not gonna make those risky plays for kills. You're gonna play a lot more safer. In what these pros are used to, which is why they hate this controller meta, is that they play safe. They want to. You're supposed to play for end game and get all your kills there. But the problem with these controller players
They're
is they
very
just get
aggro.
in. They get in whenever. So like, when it'll be interesting to see if the controller players continue to play the same way, or they adjust and like, hang on, I want to win this tournament, so
I think
I
that's going to
better
be
chill
key
out.
though, is to kind of like turning off that paranoia that like, oh, I have to play safe because
Uh-huh.
like this is the system like kind of rewards this aggressive play and just getting
Yeah.
as many kills as you can. So if any of them can control turn their brains off like controller players are known to do, they should be able to pull it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, this would be like maybe these kind of greener controller players are just new names. Maybe they'll get a little too excited, start fighting each other, and maybe you'll see one of the more established pros who are in kind of like the last chance qualifier, essentially, um, seeing that and maybe taking advantage of the inexperience with these other players, letting them duke it out and come in the third party.
Yeah, and just wrapping it up with some players I think that should be kept an eye out. Like Jake said, Nate Hill. I think Nanolight, he's a very smart keyboard and mouse player. He came in third in DreamHack, 100 Thieves Cease, Colazo, like I said. But a big one is Big 60 on PC. Big 60, we haven't added him to Infamy yet, but if he does make it in this reboot round, he has a crazy story. He was a console player. He qualified for the FNCS on console, or I believe he won the FNCS on console, bought himself a PC, and here he is he came in 103rd place. He didn't qualify for week 3, but he qualified for week 1 and 2 on PC right after getting it. So everyone's talking about him. And I think he's a controller player, obviously, but I think he's someone to keep an eye out for. I hope he makes it.
Mhm.
He has a crazy story,
Yeah.
you know.
Or maybe even in the future as well. Like if he's popping off this hard at the beginning, he
Mhm.
could have a bright future ahead of him, even if it doesn't
Yeah,
happen this tournament.
Certainly,
yeah, and it's crazy going from 60 FPS to 240. It's
it's quite a jump.
yeah, it's quite a jump, and he's seemed to it hasn't slowed him down at all.
Yeah,
So
from a small pond to big,
I just know
big
yeah, and
I'm
things.
not,
he's
I'm not putting Tfue on my team anytime soon. He literally got
yeah,
destroyed. Like not even close. He's
it's
like in the 200s or something for this past weekend. Like not. There's a few people who like just missed it.
mhm.
But no, he's like way down there.
Yeah, just
He got like
probably a
9
big,
kills.
big,
Like
probably a
that's
big
it.
contributor to him freaking out lately about the controller meta and possibly
Uh,
quitting Fortnite. But that's for a
yeah,
different
it's
video.
But he also had like maybe like a third or like a half of the viewership of the total Fortnite thing when that was going on.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like there's
I
so
think a
much
third.
added pressure to him and just like people wanting to grief his games even in tournaments maybe. So you never know. Just the clout of killing Tfue. It's just as dumb as it is highly affecting his
yeah,
play.
it's a clip's a clip in these kids' eyes. But
They can show their grandkids that one day.
I mean,
y-
I don't know. Some of these people, like we played a game, me and Darren and I, and our a random on our team, just like he's like, oh yeah, check out my YouTube page. We checked it out. He had montages of him shooting AIs, and he's thinking they were
yeah,
actual
this
players. Like I don't know.
yeah, people and any kill is it's a highlight reel
They
when you
add
get
some stats.
but
But I
Yeah.
think I
back
think that's
back to the fantasy. Was
yeah.
there
Any
one?
final thoughts?
Yeah, no, definitely,
This is gonna be a
definitely.
really fun weekend to watch. I'm excited to see the people who like just missed it and like these people that like Darren said, like we could be adding a lot of new players to the list and should be
Yeah, a lot
quite.
of hungry people.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely, and especially with the reboot round, that it adds a whole new dynamic to the tournament process and creating a team, which is one of the main reasons why we made this video. Because you're gonna have to come back and see who was added if you're really into it and want to win.
Hmm.
We have a HyperX Cloud Revolver S headset that Steve's wearing on the line. If you want that headset, who knows? It's a player who gets added. You can notice that they're super cheap and they're performing really well. Free extra points.
Hmm.
The one of the big takeaways from this is if you're picking teams based on your favorite players, that's cool. Sure, do what you want. It's a free
Do
tournament. No,
you?
we're not telling you, but we're here to provide you with winning strategies, and some main
Hmm.
takeaways are
Yeah.
diversify your regions. Um, Inputs also. Controller players are known to get more kills. PC players are known to play for placement more. Take that into account. This tournament format incentivizes kills, so you may want a couple more controller players than you usually have. And it's the last one. Region
Just the
participation.
it's something you can't really account for, but just like understanding how the pricing works is just
Yeah,
games
definitely.
played. If you have consistent performances that are on par with someone else but have less games played, you're gonna earn more. So
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, this is coming from the top of the Infamy leaderboard. So
Yeah.
he's
I want someone to take me down.
well, we got a kid who's coming for it. Oh boy,
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
watch out
Sorry,
there.
Pen Pan. They're climbing up on you, man. You're never
Yeah.
gonna reach the
So,
top of this rate.
it's fucking yeah, we gotta get Kinch out of here. No,
But this is going to be a really exciting weekend. And if you want to make it more exciting, get a little more fan engagement, throw together your team at infamy.gg and do your best to try to win a HyperX headset, or just pick your favorites and just kind of see how they stack up against the best of the best teams here.
It's a
But
learning
yeah.
again,
process. So
Yeah, and definitely let us know if you have some players that you think we should keep an eye on for the reboot round, or players that you want to see.
hmm
Join our Discord. We have a recommended Fortnite players tab, so just hit us up there,
hmm
and we'll see you in the next one.